Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Marquez, and I'm here to discuss about struggling readers in an E&L classroom. Now, I know you're probably thinking, why is an outsider dictating what I teach in the classroom? Now, I'm not here to dictate what you teach in the classroom. I'm only here to offer the best practices. I know you are very busy creating lessons plans, teaching in the classroom, grading, dealing with multiple personalities and individual needs of your students. So I'm only offer here what strategies and activities that you could implement in the classroom to help better turn your struggling readers into active readers. So in slide 2, the National Assessment of Educational Progress report about the reading average score for the New York State. The New York State went from 2017 to 2019, and the assessment is done in 4th and 8th grade. I'm only going to take a look at the 8th grade for the New York State. And within that, the score from 2017 turned from 265 to 262, while the national score turned from 264 to 262. Now the exam could actually be a bias for your E&L students because it doesn't tap into their prior knowledge or background knowledge, or they could have a trigger for their emotional and mental state while they were taking the assessment. But it does let us know that there are improvements that we could do to make our students become proficient readers in the classroom. So why do I have struggling readers in my E&L classroom? Well, first, they're reading without a clear purpose. Second is that they do not monitor their comprehension. And third, they only look for the answer and give verbatim responses. So for the first one, they're not reading with a clear purpose. They're only reading from point A to point B. And when asked about the material they're actually reading, they would actually look like that I don't know, because they actually did not comprehend the material. Students need to learn to read with a purpose to be successful outside school. So when they do that, active readers actually poses questions about the material that they can answer for themselves. Is this true? Is it not? They're finding actual evidence that would support their actual thinking. This leads to the second reason why we have struggling readers in the E&L classroom, is that they do not monitor their comprehension. They don't pose questions, they don't annotate the text, they don't read or deep with a clear purpose that would get them to have a deep knowledge of the material. When they dive into the material, they can actually answer their own questions and the possible questions that the teacher might ask. The third reason is they only look for the answers and give verbatim responses. So when they actually answer any questions, they will be looking for key words such as they or are, especially within the characters or the settings of the reading material, and they would actually just copy it. So when the teachers actually read it, it wouldn't make sense at all. Active readers actually have to look for supporting evidence, significant ideas, and make inference for an educated solution for the problem. Using these 3 obstacles, I've selected activities within those activities, there are strategies that could be implemented by the teachers that would actually turn their struggling readers into active readers. So the first activity is creation of comic. Now, it's similar to the strategy sketching my way through the text, where it invokes both traditional and non-traditional text and place them together to actually show the student having a comprehension of the reading material. This would definitely aid with the students with the less command of English, that they could actually draw what they actually understood and make their own dialogue or make their own story that is comparable to the text. And what's beneficial about that is that also because they create their own original or similar work, that they're tapping into their prior knowledge, it actually supports Bloom's taxonomy of higher thinking. This would also lead them to take more risks that they would need that with their limited English to become more proficient in English. Those risk taking would include more listening, reading, speaking, and writing material that would actually benefit them in the long run. The second activity that I implore that you will use in your classroom is the Socratic seminar. The sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes that involve the entire class to participate, and the arrangement involves the seats in a circle. Now you could also put them into groups of 3 while the main group, the talker, will be in the front while they're talking, and then you could switch them out. The benefit about this is an inquiry-based approach that prompts critical thinking questions made by the teacher and students, and the students will learn proper competence that aligns with discourse or pragmatic by showing mutual respect with others during conversations and proper use of discourse words such as because. Now, because they could be put into groups of 3, they could actually, the perfect strategy that you could use is written conversations, where the student actually have students that support the talker write conversation about the supporting evidence or own rebuttal that another person tried to make but could not use the proper evidence or could not find the evidence. And this is definitely beneficial because it's actually using their critical thinking skills on the job, and to have proper discourse about the material. This activity also promotes self-reflection, so they would actually have to know what about the material so they can actually find and support the statement they have with evidence. And their comprehension is evident throughout the conversation. And the teacher's job is only to actually take notes and facilitate their conversation for the students. The students will actually have full autonomy of this. The key thing for the teacher to do is to actually have covered the whole material with meticulous planning so the students could actually benefit from this Socratic seminar. The teacher could actually start off with an open-ended question, and from there the students can actually create their own questions while answering the other question, the first question that the teacher has created. And this could be a back and forth with all the students, and they could actually switch out from the conversation to be the support so all the students have a chance to participate within the conversation. And in the end, they could actually have a self-reflection moment where did I answer the question correctly with the supporting evidence that they need. And with all this, the students will actually learn about the material because they're creating their own inquiries about it. Now, the final activity that I offer you is RAF writing, which is role, audience, format, and topic. What's the beneficial about this is that the activity allows the students to recall, clarify, and question the main ideas of the text. The activity fits with the theoretical framework because it allows free writing in the classroom, which leads students' engagement and motivation. Finding the right words to explain what they are learning, how do they understand that learning, what is their process of that learning, is critical of commanding metacognition. Finally, this method of writing allows flexibility in their process of thinking and allows improvement in their command of English. So within all these 4 spectrums, that the best strategy that can actually help with their RAF writing is annotating text. Now, with annotating text, they need to actually know what symbols to use, such as underlining, circling the information, putting question marks. It's also quite similar to Sketch My Way Through Text, because they actually could draw simple notes that doesn't have to be a non-literal text that would actually help them in their comprehension of writing. Another helpful thing that they could do is that they could also turn and talk with their friends while they're writing, while they're actually reading the material. They could actually talk about the conversation, and then they could actually help them put it in their own writing. What I believe why is this activity is one of the best practice that can be implemented is that it also lets the student learn about different perspectives that they could be put in the role. They could be themselves or actually one of the characters, and they could be talking to the audience, to their teachers, to a higher authority, which also let them understand there are proper procedures of how to talk to a person with a higher authority, such as what you would have a formal conversation with your parents would be different from a conversation that you might actually have with just simple with your friends. It also helps with their metacognition realm because it actually asks themselves, can I actually tell you what I've read and put it in a written response, or I cannot, which also helps them with this writing, will actually help them to become more creative, because they could actually implement different formats to tell their own writing, such as it could be in a poem, it could be in a song. They could actually make videos just like this to help them inform about the topic that they actually know about. So finally, in my last slide, I will be talking about the theoretical framework of which helps me creating all these three activities. Now, the center of these activities is the culture in the classroom, which dictates everything in the Creative Comics, Socratic Seminar, and the raft writing. According to Gillis, Boggs, and Alvam in 2017, the culture of the classroom also clearly plays a significant role in how readily students are willing to engage in reflection. Because they are engaging in the reflection of what they actually know, the material, that will actually help them turn from being a struggling reader to a more proficient reader. To becoming a proficient reader, you also need to help them with scaffolds, but eventually you would need to actually release them from the scaffolds. According to Daniels and Zemelman, the gradual release of responsibility allows the students to use the reading strategies through repetition and practice, becoming a habit that makes a difference in their reading. Now, knowing your students and the culture that they've actually been in the classroom and outside the classroom will actually help, because with this kind of knowledge, you could actually release them, so release from their own scaffolds, so they actually could compete with the general student population. That will actually help them reach a higher level, a higher reading level. And since all these activities has some collaboration and engagement, they would actually be practicing inquiry-based learning, in which, according to Tracy Moreau, the optimized learning is the best when students work together to formulate hypotheses, collect data, draw conclusions, and reflect on the original problem and thinking process. And because they actually will be engaged in their learning, because it's inquiry based, this will definitely help them to attain a better command of English. According to Daniels and Zemelman, this is a fundamental activity that skillful teachers might use 5 or 8 times in a class period to keep kids active and engaged to access their thinking. He is discussing about the turn and talk, but this could be applicable to all the activities that I have mentioned. And because we are talking about students become lifelong learners, Daniels and Zeman says, well, if this is something that we lifelong pro level readers routinely do, then we had better be teaching this strategy to kids right now, saying that these strategies and activities will help them in the long run. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you take this advice with consideration.